The fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 12 warships from 12 different species, each one carrying enough weapons to destroy a small moon. They surrounded Station Velkanine like wolves circling their prey. On the bridge of the flagship, admirals and generals from across the galaxy watched the obsidian tower through their screens. Human Janitor, the Kelvin Admiral broadcast on all frequencies. You have 1 hour to surrender yourself and all technology from the tower. If you refuse, we will open fire. There will be no further warnings. Ambassador Yuna stood in the station's command center, watching the confrontation unfold. She had tried everything to prevent this. Negotiations, diplomacy, begging, nothing had worked. The galaxy was too afraid of what humanity might do with the tower's power. Ambassador, her assistant said nervously, should we evacuate the station? There's nowhere to evacuate to. If they fire on the tower, the energy release could destroy everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. Then what do we do? Yuna looked at the tower, dark and silent against the stars. We wait. And we hope that Taiho knows what he is doing. Inside the tower, Taiho was putting on his cleanest janitor uniform. He straightened his collar, checked his reflection in a polished panel, and took a deep breath. He had never been good with public speaking. He had never been good with crowds. But some things had to be done, no matter how uncomfortable they were. Are you ready? Miru asked. No, Taiho admitted. But I will do it anyway. He walked to the great entrance of the tower. The massive doors that had been sealed for 3 centuries swung open at his approach. Light flooded out, blue and warm and impossible. Taiho stepped through and stood at the threshold, visible to every camera, every sensor, every watching eye in the galaxy. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the communications channels exploded with chatter. The human had appeared. The janitor was standing at the entrance of the cursed tower, unharmed, alive, looking directly at the fleet that had come to destroy him. Taiho raised his hand, and it was a small object, about the size of a book. It was a data chip, glowing with the same blue light as the tower itself. My name is Taiho, he said, and his voice was broadcast to every ship, every station, every world that was listening. I am a janitor. For the past year, I have lived inside this tower. I have learned things that I do not fully understand. I have seen wonders that I cannot describe. He paused, looking up at the fleet. The weapons were powered, ready to fire. One wrong word and he would die, along with millions of others on the station. You are afraid of me, he continued. Afraid of what I might do with the power inside this tower. I understand. Power is dangerous. Power corrupts. In your history, and in human history, power has been used to hurt people more often than to help them. He held up the data chip. This chip contains blueprints. Technology that could end energy scarcity for every planet in the galaxy. No more fighting over resources. No more poverty. No more hunger. The tower holds much more than this, but it chose this one thing to share first. Share. The Kelvin Admiral's voice was suspicious. You mean to give it to humanity alone? No, Taiho said. I mean to give it to everyone. Every species. Every world. Equally. No exceptions. No favorites. Silence. The fleet commanders looked at each other in confusion. This was not what they had expected. They had expected demands. They had expected conditions. They had expected a human trying to grab power for his own kind. Why? The Moran representative finally asked. Why would you share freely? What do you want in return? Taiho thought about the question. It was a fair one. Everyone always wanted something. That was how the galaxy worked. I want nothing, he said. I am a janitor. I clean floors. I fix things that are broken. I make messes go away. That is what I do. That is all I have ever wanted to do. He gestured at the galaxy around them. This mess between your species, this fear and hatred and war, it has been building for thousands of years. I cannot clean it all, but maybe I can start. Maybe if everyone has the same technology, the same opportunities, you will stop fighting over scraps. You expect us to believe this? The Kelvin Admiral demanded. That you have no hidden agenda? I expect nothing, Taiho said calmly. Believe me or do not believe me. The choice is yours. But I will not keep this technology for myself. I will not give it only to humans. I will share it with everyone because that is what the beings who built this tower wanted. He told them about Meru, about the ancient civilization that had created the towers as a test, about the hope that someday a species would rise that was humble enough, good enough, to deserve their gifts. I do not know if humanity deserves this, Taiho admitted. I do not know if any species does. But we will never find out if we keep fighting each other. We will never grow if we let fear control us. Ambassador Yuna watched from the command center, tears forming in her eyes. This was not diplomacy as she knew it. This was not politics or strategy. This was just a simple man speaking simple truths, hoping that someone would listen. The Kelvin Admiral was the first to respond. And if we refuse? If we demand more? Then you refuse, Taiho said. I will not force anyone to accept my gift, but I will not stop offering it. Today, tomorrow, next year, next century. As long as I live, I will share what the tower contains, freely, equally, to anyone who wants it. The Kelvin Empire does not accept charity from humans. Taiho nodded. I understand. Pride is important. But when your children are hungry, and your ships need fuel and your worlds are dying, remember that the offer is always open. No conditions. No requirements. Just a janitor trying to clean up a very old mess. One by one, the other species began to respond. The Moran Collective accepted the data chip eagerly. They had always valued knowledge above all else, and free technology was an offer they could not refuse. The smaller species followed quickly. For worlds that had always been poor and weak, this was a miracle. Equal access to advanced technology meant they could finally stand as equals among the galactic powers. Even some of the larger empires eventually agreed. Not out of gratitude, but out of practicality. If everyone else had the technology, they could not afford to be left behind. Only the Kelvin Empire refused. Their admiral declared that they would develop their own technology, that they did not need human charity. But even they lowered their weapons and withdrew from the station. The crisis was over. Not through force or threats, but through an offer of genuine kindness. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. Energy stations powered by tower technology appeared on hundreds of worlds. Hunger became less common. Poverty began to shrink. It was not perfect, nothing ever was, but it was better. Taiho became famous throughout the galaxy. News programs told his story again and again. The human janitor who discovered the greatest treasure in history and gave it away. Statues were built in his honor. Songs were written about him. He hated every minute of it. I just want to clean in peace, he told Ambassador Yuna one day. Why will they not leave me alone? Yuna laughed. You saved the galaxy. People tend to remember that. I did not save anyone. I just shared some blueprints. Same thing, really. Taiho sighed and returned to the tower. It was the only place he could find quiet anymore. Outside, the universe celebrated his name. Inside, he could just be himself. A janitor. A janitor. A cleaner. A man who liked his ramen hot and his life simple. Miru was waiting for him, as always. The galaxy calls you a hero. The galaxy is wrong. I did not do anything special. You were given the power to reshape reality, and you used it to help others without asking for anything in return. In 67,000 years, no one else has done that. I believe my creators would say that is very special. Taiho sat down in his small room, the same maintenance room where he had started. It had better furniture now and a real kitchen, but it was still his home. His quiet place. What happens now? He asked. I gave them the energy technology. Do I keep sharing more? That is your choice. The tower contains enough knowledge to occupy 1,000 lifetimes. You can share it slowly, piece by piece, as the galaxy proves itself ready. Or you can keep some secrets if you believe they are too dangerous. That is a lot of responsibility for a janitor. Yes, Miru agreed. But I believe you are the right person for it. Not because you are smart or strong or important, but because you understand something that most beings do not. What is that? That everyone, from the greatest emperor to the lowest worker, just wants a clean and peaceful place to live. You spent your life creating that for others. Now you can do it for the entire galaxy. Taiho thought about this for a long time. Then he picked up his mop, which still leaned against the wall where he had left it on the first day. I guess I better get to work then, he said, and he did. Over the following years, Taiho continued to share the tower's gifts. Medical technology that could cure any disease. Transportation systems that connected distant worlds. Communication devices that allowed anyone to speak to anyone else, anywhere in the universe. He never asked for payment. He never demanded recognition. He just kept working quietly and steadily like he had always done. The curse of the Obsidian Tower lifted completely. Other humans came to explore and study. Scientists documented its wonders. Historians recorded its secrets. But Taiho remained its guardian, its keeper, its janitor. Taiho stood in the darkness beyond the great door. He could not see anything, but he could feel something. A presence. Old and patient and impossibly vast. It was like standing in the ocean at night, knowing that something enormous was swimming just beneath the surface. Hello? He called out. His voice echoed strangely, as if the room was much larger than it should be. The presence stirred. And then, it started as a single point, floating in the air before him. Then it grew, spreading outward like ripples on water. The light was blue, soft, and warm. As it expanded, Taiho could see the room around him. It was enormous. The ceiling was so high that he could not see it. The walls stretched away into the distance. And everywhere, covering every surface, were machines. Screens and panels and devices that looked like they belonged in dreams rather than reality. At the center of the room was a pillar of crystal. It rose from the floor to somewhere far above, glowing with the same blue light. And inside the crystal, Taiho could see something moving. Patterns of light that shifted and changed like thoughts made visible. You are awake, the voice said. It was inside his head again, speaking directly to his mind. I did not expect you so soon. Your kind is very young. Taiho looked at the crystal. Are you the tower? I am what gives the tower purpose. What you would call an artificial intelligence, though that term is not quite right. I was created by those who built this place. I have waited here for 67,000 years. 67,000 years. Taiho could not even imagine such a length of time. Human civilization was only a few thousand years old. This being had been waiting since before humans existed. Why? Taiho asked. What are you waiting for? For someone who could survive the test. The energy that fills this tower was designed as a filter. It kills those who cannot regenerate fast enough. Only a truly resilient species could pass through. But why? Why did it have to be so dangerous? The AI was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was sad. Because what I guard is powerful. Too powerful for beings who are not ready. My creators understood this. They knew that someday another species would rise. A species strong enough to survive, wise enough to use this power responsibly. I was told to wait for them. And you think that species is humans? You are the first to reach me. In 67,000 years, thousands have tried. Warriors and scientists and priests, all dead within seconds. And then you walked in, carrying a mop, looking for a quiet place to sleep. Taiho laughed. He could not help it. The situation was too absurd. I am just a janitor. I am not special. I am probably the least important human on this station. That, the AI said, is exactly why you are special. The warriors came seeking glory. The scientists came seeking knowledge. The priests came seeking proof. You came seeking peace. You walked into death with no expectations, no demands, no desire for power. You only wanted rest. So I won by not trying? You won by being humble. And that is what my creators hoped for. The power I guard could reshape the galaxy. In the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. My creators wanted to give it to beings who would not seek such power. Beings who would use it to help others, not themselves. Taiho was quiet. He thought about his life. The small apartment on Earth, the boring jobs, the years of cleaning other people's messes. He had never wanted to be important. He had just wanted to live a simple life. What is this power? He finally asked. The crystal began to glow brighter. Images appeared in the air around him. Star systems, galaxies, machines that could build worlds, ships that could cross the universe in moments, energy that could end poverty and hunger forever. Everything, the AI said simply. The power to reshape reality itself. My creators were gods in all but name. And before they left this universe for somewhere else, they wanted to leave their gifts behind. For whoever was worthy. For the next 3 months, Taiho lived in the crystal room. The AI, which he learned to call Miru, taught him about the ancient civilization that had built the tower. They had existed billions of years ago, long before any current species. They had mastered science and magic and everything in between. And then, one day, they had simply left. Gone to another dimension, another reality, another form of existence entirely. But they had not wanted their knowledge to die with them. So they built towers across the galaxy. Thousands of them, each one guarded by an AI, each one waiting for someone worthy. Are there other towers? Taiho asked one day. Many, Miru answered. But most are empty now. Their guardians have given up hope. They believed no species would ever pass the test. I was the last one who still waited. Why did you keep waiting? Because I believe in life. In its potential. My creators were once like you. Simple beings on a small world. They grew. They learned. They became something magnificent. I believed another species would do the same, given time. Taiho thought about humanity, their wars and their kindness, their cruelty and their love, their endless ability to survive against all odds. Are we ready? He asked. For this power? Miru was silent for a long moment. I do not know. But you are ready. And perhaps that is enough. Outside the tower, the galaxy was in chaos. News of the human janitor and his discovery had spread everywhere. Every government wanted access to the tower's secrets. The Kelvin Empire demanded that humanity share any weapons technology found inside. The Moran Collective wanted scientific data. Smaller species worried that humans would become too powerful. Ambassador Yuna spent every day in meetings, trying to calm angry diplomats and worried leaders. She had become the face of humanity's great discovery, even though she had never set foot inside the tower. This is a matter of galactic security. the Kelvin ambassador thundered during one session. Humanity cannot be allowed to control such power alone. We do not control anything, Una replied calmly. One man is inside the tower, one janitor. He has shared nothing with us because he has taken nothing. You expect us to believe that? That a human would discover the greatest treasure in history and not try to profit from it? Una smiled. You do not know Taiho. He does not care about profit. He does not care about power. He just wants to be left alone to do his work. But the other species did not believe her. How could they? In their experience, power was always taken. Power was always used. The idea of someone having access to unlimited power and simply not using it was impossible to understand. The Galactic Council began to discuss military options. Some suggested bombing the tower, destroying it before humanity could use its secrets. Others wanted to send troops to force their way inside. A few extreme voices called for war against humanity itself. Taiho knew none of this. He was too busy learning. Miru showed him how the ancient machines worked, how to build things from pure energy, how to heal any wound, how to travel between stars in the blink of an eye. The knowledge was overwhelming, but Taiho was patient. He had spent his whole life doing boring, repetitive work. Learning was almost relaxing by comparison. You are a good student, Miru said one day. Better than I expected. You do not rush. You do not demand. You simply absorb, like water filling a container. I am used to taking things slow, Taiho said. When you clean, you cannot rush. If you miss a spot, you have to go back and do it again. Better to do it right the first time. Janitor philosophy, Miru said, and Taiho could hear the smile in the AI's voice. Perhaps the universe could use more of it. On the day, everything changed. Taiho was sitting in the crystal room, eating ramen. He had found a way to make it using the tower's food synthesizers, and it was almost perfect. Not quite as good as his mother's, but close. A message appeared on the screens around him. Miru had learned to monitor the station's communications, and this one was important. The Galactic Council has voted, Miru said. They are sending a fleet. 12 warships from different species. They will arrive in 3 days. Taiho put down his chopsticks. What do they want? They want you to surrender the tower's secrets. They want to divide the technology among themselves. They believe this is the only fair solution. And if I refuse, they will destroy the tower, and you with it. Taiho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his life, about all the years he had spent being invisible, unimportant, just another worker in a universe full of workers. He had never wanted to be important. He had never asked for this, but here he was, the only human who could survive inside the tower. The only one who had access to power that could change everything. What do you think I should do? He asked Miru. That is not my decision to make. The choice is yours. Taiho stood up and walked to the great window that looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, warships were gathering. Politicians were arguing. The whole galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen. He was just a janitor. He cleaned floors for a living. But somehow, the fate of everything had landed in his lap. Okay, he said quietly. I know what to do. Ambassador Una stood at the entrance of the Obsidian Tower with a team of 12 security officers. They were the best soldiers on Station Velkanine. They wore the most advanced armor that money could buy. They carried weapons that could cut through starship hulls. And they were all terrified. With respect, Ambassador, the team leader said, we cannot go in there. The curse will kill us all. Una understood their fear. She had read the reports. She had seen the old footage of previous expeditions. She knew what the tower did to anyone who entered. But she also knew that something impossible was happening inside. We are not going in, she said. Not yet. First, we try to make contact. She walked to the entrance and activated the communication device built into her wrist. Attention, anyone inside the Obsidian Tower. This is Ambassador Yuna of the human delegation. Please respond. Silence. She tried again. We have detected signs of life inside the tower. If you can hear this message, please come to the entrance. We are here to help. More silence. Then, from somewhere deep inside the building, a voice. It was faint, scratchy, barely audible through the thick walls. Hello? Is someone there? Yuna's heart jumped. Yes. This is Ambassador Yuna. Who are you? Are you injured? My name is Taiho. I am the janitor for Section 7. I live here. The security team exchanged confused looks. The janitor? He lived here? Taiho, listen to me carefully, Yuna said. The tower is extremely dangerous. You need to come out immediately. There was a pause. Then Taiho's voice came again, sounding almost embarrassed. I cannot come out right now. I am in the middle of something. Can you come back later? Yuna stared at the entrance in disbelief. Come back later? Sir, you are inside a building that has killed thousands of people. This is not a joke. I know, Taiho said. But I am fine, really. The energy here does not hurt me. It tingles a bit, but that is all. Tingles? Yuna repeated. She could not believe what she was hearing. Yes, like when your foot falls asleep. It is annoying at first, but you get used to it. The security team leader leaned close to Yuna. Ambassador, this man is either lying or insane. No one can survive the tower's energy. But Yuna was thinking. She knew something about humans that most other species did not. Humans were strange. They survived things that should kill them. They adapted to environments that would destroy other beings. They were, in many ways, the cockroaches of the galaxy. Taiho, she said into the communicator, can you come to the entrance? I need to see you with my own eyes. Another pause. Okay, give me a few minutes. I need to climb down from level 15. Level 15. He had made it to level 15. Previous expeditions had never gotten past level 1. 10 minutes later, a figure appeared in the darkness beyond the entrance. It was a man, human, wearing a simple janitor uniform. He was holding a flashlight in one hand and a mop in the other. He looked completely normal, except for the fact that his hair was standing straight up from the static energy. Taiho walked to the entrance and stopped just inside the doorway. Hello, he said, waving with the hand holding the mop. Sorry for the confusion. I did not know anyone was looking for me. Yuna stared at him. He was alive. He was healthy. He was standing inside the deadliest building in the galaxy, holding a mop, looking slightly annoyed at being interrupted. How? She whispered. How are you alive? Taiho shrugged. I do not know. I just walked in one day and nothing happened. Well, the tingling happened, but that is not so bad. The energy should have dissolved your cells within seconds. Maybe human cells are different? Taiho suggested. I am not a scientist. I just clean floors. Word spread quickly through the station. Within hours, everyone knew about the human janitor living in the Obsidian Tower. Within days, the news had spread across the galaxy. Scientists from every known species demanded access to study him. Politicians demanded explanations. Religious leaders called it a sign from the gods. The Galactic Council sent a team of experts to Station Velka 9. They brought the most advanced scanning equipment in the universe. They needed to understand how a simple human could survive what had killed so many others. Taiho agreed to be studied. He stood at the entrance of the tower while machines scanned every part of his body. Doctors took samples of his blood, his skin, his hair. Scientists measured the energy levels around him. Everyone talked about him like he was not their dot after 3 days of testing. The lead scientist, a Moran named Jisoo, called a meeting. She was old even by Moran standards, with large eyes that had seen many wonders. But she had never seen anything like this. The results are clear, Jisoo announced to the gathered officials. Human cellular regeneration is the key. Explain, Ambassador Yuna said. The tower's energy attacks organic matter at the cellular level. It breaks apart cells faster than any known organism can repair them. A Kelvin cell is destroyed in 0.3 seconds. A Miran cell lasts 0.5 seconds. Even the hardy Vex can only survive for 1.2 seconds. She paused and looked at her notes. Human cells, however, regenerate at an unusual rate. They are destroyed just as fast as any other species. But they rebuild almost immediately. The tower's energy breaks them apart, and they simply grow back. So humans are immune? One of the officials asked. Not immune, Jisoo corrected. The energy is constantly damaging him, but his body repairs itself fast enough to survive. It is like, imagine trying to empty a bucket that is being filled faster than you can pour water out. The tower cannot kill him because he heals faster than it can harm him. The tingling, Taiho said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. That is what the tingling is? My cells dying and coming back? Yes, Jisoo confirmed. Millions of your cells are dying every second, and millions more are being born to replace them. Your body is in a constant state of destruction and creation. Taiho thought about this. That sounds exhausting. No wonder I have been so hungry lately. Despite the serious nature of the meeting, a few people laughed. This human was facing constant cellular death with the same attitude he probably faced a dirty floor. Clean it up and move on. This is an incredible discovery, Jisoo continued. Humans could explore the entire tower. They could access areas that have been sealed for thousands of years. They could uncover secrets that we never thought possible. The room erupted in discussion. Everyone had opinions. Everyone had demands. The Kelvin representatives wanted military access to any weapons found inside. The Moran scientists wanted to study the tower's technology. The religious leaders wanted to know if the tower held proof of ancient gods. Through it all, Taiho stood quietly by the door. He did not care about politics or science or religion. He just wanted to go back to his room and finish his ramen. Eventually, Ambassador Yuna noticed him trying to leave. Taiho, where are you going? Back inside, he said. My dinner is getting cold. You cannot just go back inside. This is the most important discovery in centuries. We need you to help explore the tower, to document what you find, I have been exploring, Taiho interrupted. For 8 months. I have seen many things. Strange machines. Beautiful artwork. Singing crystals. And last night, I found a door. The room went silent. A door? Jisoo asked. What kind of door? A big one. Made of black stone. It had symbols that moved like they were alive. I touched it, and it opened. What was behind the door? Taiho thought for a moment. I do not know yet. It was dark. I heard something inside, like a voice, but not a voice. It was in my head. Then you called me on the communicator, and I had to come down. Ambassador Yuna looked at the other officials. They all understood what this meant. Taiho had found something. Something that no one else could ever reach. Taiho, Yuna said carefully. What did the voice say? Taiho closed his eyes, remembering. The words had been strange, in a language he did not know. But somehow, he had understood them. It said, finally, after so long. Someone worthy. The room was completely silent. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. Worthy of what? Yuna whispered. Taeho opened his eyes. For the first time since anyone had met him, he looked uncertain, almost scared. I do not know, he admitted, but I think I need to find out. He turned and walked back into the tower. The darkness swallowed him within seconds. No one tried to stop him. What could they possibly say? Ambassador Yuna watched him go. Then she turned to her assistant. Send a message to Earth. Tell them everything. Tell them we need more humans. As many as they can spare. What should I say we need them for? Yuna looked at the obsidian tower, standing dark and mysterious against the stars. Tell them, she said slowly, that humanity might have just inherited the biggest secret in the galaxy. And we found it because our janitor needed a quiet place to sleep. The next morning, Taeho woke up early. He put on his janitor uniform, grabbed his small bag of belongings, and walked toward the obsidian tower. The corridors were quiet at this hour. Most workers were still sleeping. Only the night shift guards patrolled the halls, and they paid no attention to a janitor walking with a mop dot. As Taeho approached the tower, he could feel something strange. It was like static electricity on his skin, a tingling sensation that ran from his fingers to his toes. It was not painful. It was almost pleasant, like the feeling of stepping into a warm bath after a cold day. The entrance to the tower was sealed with heavy metal doors. Warning signs covered every surface. Danger, they said in dozens of languages. Death awaits inside. Nitrogen monoxide entry under any circumstances. Taeho looked at the signs. Then he looked at his worker badge. The key code was still there, blinking green. The system had given him access. The system did not make mistakes. At least, that was what everyone always said. He pressed his badge against the scanner. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a loud hiss, the doors began to open. Cold air rushed out. It smelled old, like dust and forgotten things. The inside of the tower was dark, lit only by a faint purple glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Taeho took a deep breath and stepped inside. The tingling on his skin grew stronger. It was like thousands of tiny needles pressing against him, but not breaking the skin. He waited for the pain that everyone talked about. He waited for his cells to dissolve. He waited for death, but nothing happened. Taeho stood there for a full minute just waiting. His heart was beating fast. His hands were shaking a little, but he was alive. He was completely, totally alive. Huh, he said out loud. His voice echoed in the empty space. That is interesting. He walked further inside. The maintenance room was supposed to be on the first level, according to his assignment. He found a staircase and began to climb. The purple glow followed him, lighting his way. The tingling never stopped, but he was getting used to it now. It was just background noise, like the hum of air conditioning. The maintenance room was small but clean. There was a bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and even a tiny kitchen area. It looked like it had been prepared for someone to live in long ago. There was even a window that looked out at the station outside. Taeho put his bag on the bed and sat down. He was still alive. He had been inside the cursed tower for 10 minutes now, and he was still breathing. This was either a miracle or a mistake. Probably both. He decided not to tell anyone. What would he even say? Oh, I accidentally moved into the death building, but I am fine? They would think he was crazy. They would send doctors. They would send scientists. They would probably lock him up somewhere. No, it was better to stay quiet. He would live here, do his job, and see what happened. If the curse killed him eventually, well, at least he would have had some peace and quiet first. Days passed. Then weeks. Taeho settled into his new life in the tower. Every morning, he would wake up, eat breakfast, and walk out to clean the corridors of Section 7. Every evening, He would return to the tower, cook his dinner, and read books on his old tablet. It was a good life. A quiet life. The tingling never went away completely. Some days, it was stronger than others. On bad days, it felt like his whole body was vibrating. On good days, he barely noticed it. But it never hurt. It was just there. He began to explore the tower during his free time. The first level was mostly storage rooms and empty spaces. The second level had what looked like offices, with strange desks and chairs designed for bodies very different from his. The third level had a library, filled with books in languages he could not read. The higher he went, the stronger the purple glow became, and the stronger the tingling. By the fifth level, he could feel his hair standing on end constantly. By the 10th level, he could see small sparks jumping from his fingertips when he touched metal surfaces. But still, he did not die. Taeho was not a scientist. He did not understand why he could survive when so many others had died. He was just a janitor. He cleaned floors for a living. This was all far beyond anything he could explain. But he was curious. And curiosity is a powerful thing. On the station outside, life continued as normal. Nobody noticed that a human janitor had moved into the obsidian tower. The guards still stood at the entrances. The warning signs still blinked. The legend of the cursed building continued to grow. Months passed. Taeho had now lived in the tower longer than anyone in history. He had explored most of its levels. He had found strange machines that did not work. He had found beautiful artwork on the walls. He had found rooms full of crystals that sang when he walked past them. The tower was not empty. It was full of wonders. But it was also lonely. Taeho had not spoken to another living being in weeks. His only company was the purple glow and the constant tingling on his skin. One night, something changed. Taeho was sitting in his room, eating ramen that he had brought from the station market. It was not as good as the ramen on Earth, but it was close enough. He was thinking about his mother, who used to make ramen for him when he was a child. He was thinking about home. Suddenly, lights began to flicker in the corridor outside his room. Not the purple glow that was always there, but new lights. White and bright. They flashed in patterns, like signals. Taeho put down his chopsticks and walked to the door. The lights were coming from higher up in the tower, from a level he had not yet explored. He grabbed his flashlight and began to climb outside the tower. A security drone was making its routine patrol around the building. It was programmed to check for any unusual activity. Usually, there was nothing. The tower had been quiet for centuries, but tonight, the drone sensors detected something. Movement inside the tower. Heat signatures. Light patterns that should not exist. The drone sent an alert to the station's security office. Then it sent another alert to the Galactic Council's emergency response team. Then it began recording everything it could see through the tower's ancient windows. Inside, Taeho climbed higher and higher. The lights were leading him somewhere. He could feel it. Something wanted him to follow. He reached a level he had never seen before. The walls here were different. They were covered in symbols that glowed with their own light. The tingling on his skin was almost overwhelming now. Every hair on his body was standing straight up. Sparks flew from his fingers with every step. At the center of the room, there was a door. It was massive, carved from a single piece of black stone. The symbols on its surface moved and shifted like living things. Taeho stood before the door for a long moment. He knew, somehow, that this was important. This was why the tower existed. This was its secret. He reached out his hand and touched the door. Pain exploded through his body. Real pain, for the first time since he had entered the tower. He screamed and fell to his knees. His vision went white. His ears filled with a sound like thunder. Then, just as quickly, it stopped. Taiho opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor, breathing hard. His hand was burned where he had touched the door. But he was alive, and the door was open. Meanwhile, on the station, chaos was erupting. The security alerts had reached Ambassador Yuna of the human delegation. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She had been stationed on Velka-9 for 5 years, representing humanity's interests in the galactic community. When she received the report about activity in the Obsidian Tower, she did not believe it at first. The tower had been sealed for 3 centuries. Nothing could survive inside. But the drone footage was clear. There was someone in there. Someone alive. Who authorized entry into the tower. She demanded that her assistant check the records. No one, Ambassador. The tower has been sealed since. He stopped. His face went pale. Wait, there is a maintenance request. Filed 8 months ago. A housing assignment. Housing? In the tower? Yes, the automated system approved it. A worker requested quiet housing near Section 7. The system assigned him Maintenance Room 3 in the Obsidian Tower. Yuna stared at him. The system assigned someone to live in the cursed tower. Yes, Ambassador. And no one noticed for 8 months? The system is automated. No one checks housing assignments manually unless there is a complaint. Yuna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This was either the greatest discovery in galactic history or the biggest disaster. Probably both. Who was the worker? She asked. Her assistant pulled up the file. His name is Taiho. Human. Age 32. Occupation. Janitor. A janitor. A human janitor had been living in the most dangerous building in the galaxy for 8 months. And he was still alive. Yuna opened her eyes. Get me a security team. We are going to the tower. Inside the tower, Taiho was sitting up slowly. His hand hurt badly, but the burn was already starting to heal. He did not understand how. He did not understand anything anymore. He looked at the open door. Beyond it was darkness. Complete and total darkness. But somewhere in that darkness, something was waiting. Something that had been waiting for a very long time. Taiho stood up on shaky legs. He should leave. He should run away. He should tell someone what had happened. But instead, he walked forward into the darkness, and the door closed behind him. The Obsidian Tower stood at the center of Station Velka-9 like a dark finger pointing at the stars. It was black, smooth, and very old. Nobody knew who built it. Nobody knew why. The only thing everyone knew was simple. If you go inside, you die. For 300 years, the tower had been sealed. The Galactic Council had placed warning signs in every known language around its base. Red lights blinked day and night. Armed guards stood at every entrance. But the guards were not there to stop people from leaving. They were there to stop people from entering. The curse of the tower was famous across the galaxy. The dark energy inside would kill any living thing within seconds. It did not matter how strong you were. It did not matter what kind of armor you wore. The moment you stepped through those doors, your body would start to break apart. Your cells would dissolve. Your bones would turn to dust. And you would scream until there was nothing left of you to scream. Many had tried to enter over the centuries. Warriors from the proud Kelvin Empire came first. They wore their strongest battle armor. They carried weapons that could destroy small moons. They walked in with their heads held high. They lasted 4 seconds. Their screams echoed through the station for hours. Then came the scientists from the Myra Collective. They were the smartest beings in the known universe. They built special suits that could protect against any known form of radiation. They created shields powered by dying stars. They were so confident that they broadcast their expedition live to billions of viewers. The broadcast ended after 6 seconds. The scientists did not even have time to take readings. Religious leaders tried next. The high priests of the eternal light believed their faith would protect them. They prayed for 7 days before entering. They burned sacred incense. They chanted ancient words of protection. They died in 3 seconds, faster than anyone before them died after that. The Galactic Council made a decision. No more attempts. No more deaths. The Obsidian Tower would remain sealed forever. Whatever secrets it held would stay buried. It was simply too dangerous. Years passed. Then decades. Then centuries. The tower became a legend, then almost a myth. New generations grew up hearing stories about the cursed building at the center of Station Valkenine. Some did not even believe it was real. But it was very real. And it stood there, dark and silent, waiting. Station Valkenine was a busy place despite the tower. Millions of beings from thousands of species lived and worked there. Ships came and went every hour. Markets sold goods from across the galaxy. It was a place of trade, diplomacy, and occasionally, trouble. The station needed workers to keep it running. Cleaners, fixers, builders, and yes, janitors. Most of these workers were machines now. Robots did not complain. Robots did not need sleep. Robots did not file complaints with the labor board, but some areas of the station still needed living workers. The outer sections near the tower were one such area. The dark energy that leaked from the sealed building interfered with robot circuits. Machines would malfunction, break down, or simply stop working. So the station managers had to hire organic workers for those sections. This is where Taiho came in. Taiho was a human. He was 32 years old, not very tall, and had a round, friendly face. He had worked as a janitor for most of his adult life. He had cleaned office buildings on Earth. He had mopped floors on lunar bases. He had scrubbed toilets on Mars colonies. When the job posting for Station Valkenine appeared, he applied without thinking much about it. The pay was good. The housing was free. And Taiho was tired of Earth. He wanted to see the stars. He wanted adventure. Or, at least, he wanted something different from his small apartment and his boring routine. The journey to Station Valkenine took 3 months. Taiho spent most of it sleeping, watching old movies, and learning basic phrases in Kelvin and Moran. He was not a fast learner, but he tried hard. By the time he arrived, he could say, "Hello," "Goodbye," and "Where's the bathroom" in 6 different languages. His first week on the station was overwhelming. He had never seen so many different species in one place. There were tall Kelvins with their blue skin and 4 arms. There were small Myrans with their big eyes and even bigger brains. There were creatures that looked like walking trees, swimming fish, and floating clouds. Taiho felt very small and very human. But work was work. He was assigned to Section 7, the area closest to the Obsidian Tower. His supervisor was a Kelvin named Borum. Borum had worked on the station for 50 years. He was tired, grumpy, and had no patience for new workers. "Listen carefully, human," Borum said on Taiho's first day. "This section is difficult. The machines do not work well here. You will have to do everything by hand. Sweep the floors, clean the windows, empty the waste containers. And most importantly, stay away from the tower." Taiho nodded. "Yes, sir." "I mean it," Borum continued. "Do not go near the tower. Do not touch the tower. Do not even look at the tower for too long. It is cursed. Everyone who enters dies. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," Taiho said again. Borum stared at him for a long moment. Then he handed Taiho a mop and a bucket. "Good. Now get to work. The floors in Corridor 7B have not been cleaned in a week. They smell terrible." Taiho took the mop and went to work. He was good at his job. He had been doing it for years. There was something calming about cleaning. You could see the results immediately. A dirty floor became clean. A messy room became tidy. It was simple. It was on his dot as he mopped the floors of Corridor 7B. He could see the tower through the windows. It was massive, much bigger than he had imagined. And it was beautiful in a strange way. The black surface seemed to absorb all light. It looked like a hole in reality, a place where the universe just stopped. Taiho found himself staring at it often during his first few weeks. He did not know why. There was just something about the tower that called to him, something that whispered in a voice too quiet to hear. One evening, after a long shift, Taiho sat in the station cafeteria eating his dinner. It was some kind of noodle dish, not as good as the ramen back home, but acceptable. A Moran worker sat down across from him. Her name was Hannah, and she worked in the station's records department. "You are the new janitor in Section 7? Hannah asked. "Yes," Taiho said. "I started 3 weeks ago." Hannah tilted her large head. "You seem calm. Most new workers in that section quit within a month. The tower makes them nervous." Taiho shrugged. "It is just a building. A scary building, but still just a building." Hannah made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You humans are strange. You fear so little. Perhaps because you know so little." Taiho smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe we are just too stupid to be scared." That night, Taiho filed a maintenance request through the station's automated system. He had been living in the workers' dormitory, sharing a room with 3 other janitors. It was crowded, noisy, and he could not sleep well. He needed his own space. He needed quiet. The request form asked for his preferred location. Taiho typed in, "Anywhere quiet. Near my work area, if possible." The automated system processed his request. It searched through all available living spaces on the station. Most were occupied. Some were too expensive. Some were in sections too far from Section 7, but there was one space available. One space that had been empty for 300 years. One space that nobody else would ever request. A small maintenance room on the first floor of the Obsidian Tower. The system did not understand curses. It did not understand fear. It only understood that there was an empty room and a worker who needed housing. It approved the request and sent Taiho his new room assignment. Taiho looked at the message on his screen. "Obsidian Tower, Level 1, Maintenance Room 3. He frowned. That could not be right. But the approval was official. The key code had already been sent to his worker badge. He decided to check it out the next morning. What was the worst that could happen?